he lashed out us. What do you make of him and a character like him in the federal capital, especially with what we saw when the Prime Minister of India came?
It's not just that he has been in the country.
Your friend Wike recently described you as an internet lawyer. So this exchange you had with him, not really an exchange, you responded to him and he lashed out us. What do you make of him and a character like him in the federal capital, especially with what we saw when the Prime Minister of India came and his behavior? What do you make of him?
Look, I respect the office of the Minister for the FCT because it's a very important office in the country. The FCT is a symbol of Nigeria's coexistence. And precisely because of that, I think we've got to hold the feet of the occupant of the office on fire, to fire at any point in time. We've got to ask the person to comport themselves in ways that do credit to the sovereign standing of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. It's not a republic for you or I or the minister alone. It's the republic for all of us and for everyone who is going to subsequently be part of that republic and for those who have come before us. Now, look, internet lawyer, where do people get their information now materially? Is it not on the internet? Or internet professor. So I'm not at all worried about being described as internet lawyer. He uses devices and he relies on the internet every day, right? Now, so he's not denying my credentials as a lawyer. So I'm not interested. Wike became a lawyer in 1998. By that time, I had been a lawyer for over 10 years, in Nigeria at least, right? And I have put in work in all manner of places. I have never been paid a salary by the Nigerian government or any institution in Nigeria except as a youth corper. I want Wike to say the same thing. The man has not had a legitimate life outside the Nigerian state. Okay? So I can understand the inferiority complex of someone like that, whose entire existence has been dependent on sucking from the feeding bottle, from the sovereign feeding bottle of Nigeria, entirely, legitimately and illegitimately. I can, because Wike cannot tell me. If he can, let him please do so. But Wike cannot tell me that everything he has acquired and owns at the moment can be accounted for in terms of the legitimate earnings that he has had, number one, as a local government chairman, number two, as a chief of staff to the Rivers State governor, number three, as a minister of a junior minister for education under President Jonathan, number four, as a governor of Rivers State for 2 terms, and now as the FCT minister. If he can add up his earnings legitimately, including allowances legitimately, and be able to account for his acquisitions in terms of those legitimate earnings, let him say so. I can account for what I own and anything credited to me in terms of my legitimate earnings. I want Wike to say the same thing. If he can say that, I will be on the same pedestal. If he cannot, I am superior to him.
Hello, welcome. My name is Rudolph Okonkwo. Our guest today is the 2025 courtroom male Man of the Year, Professor Chidi Odenkalo. In its citation, the panel highlighted the extraordinary work he has done in demanding accountability for those who administered Nigeria's justice system, noting that Chidi Odenkalo has refined the art of speaking difficult truths. He does not appear to be motivated by the pursuit of favors, titles, or professional advancement. That places him in a rare category of lawyers willing to speak openly about the deep-rooted challenges facing both the legal profession and the justice system in Nigeria. Professor Odenkalo is a professor of international human rights law at the Fletcher School of Law at Tufts University. He's a globally respected human rights scholar, former chairman of Nigeria's National Human Rights Commission, and a leading public intellectual on law, governance, and democratic integrity. With decades of experience in justice sector reform and a keen understanding of the relationship between institutions and the people they serve, he brings clarity to complex political and constitutional crises. He's also the author of the recent book, The Selectorate, When Judges Topple the People, a compelling examination of how legal and political elites shape who truly holds power in a democracy. Known for his analytical precision and independence of thought, Professor Odenkalo's insights cut through the noise. He joins us today to help us better understand what is truly at play in Nigeria at this critical moment. Please help me in welcoming to the show, Professor Chidi Odenkalo. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, my brother. I hope you're good.
I'm good. Thank you so much for being here.
It's February 1st.
Yeah, February, the first show in the month of February. A lot of people are excited to have you with us, and we have to get to several things in the news. I want to start with what's in today's papers. I'm looking at the papers today, and everything is all about 2027. Politics of people joining this party or the other party, electoral reforms, trouble with local governments, administration. Looking at that, the headlines of our Nigerian papers today, I'm not sure if you've seen them, but these are the topics. What do you make of the state of the country politically?
Yeah, it's interesting you ask this. I've become used to looking for what is not there rather than what is there.
See, that's why I fuck with this man, man. That's why I like him. You look for the signal, not the noise. Sure, if you did that, they hear me. The signal will not make the news, because no, that's not. If the signal make the news, then you don't spoil the secret. So, but ability for you to look beyond the headlines, look beyond the news, and see what is not there is what sets you apart from the rest of the millions of people. So, to Amslem Ndika Kalu, I'm a right man. See, that's why I fuck with you.
And in that spirit, the biggest story for me is what is not being reported in the Nigerian papers today. And it is that in the 37 days since 27th of December, President Tinubu has been in Nigeria for not more than 7 days. He's been away for about 30 days. And so that for me is the biggest story. And nobody is discussing it.
I've been saying this here.
Right? It's not in the newspapers. the opposition parties, more than any other thing, are not talking about it.
That's why.
And you cannot
In the race,
run. And it's not just that he has been in the country, been away from the country for over a month on the 1st of February. It is that as we speak, he is unaccounted for. Nobody knows where he is.
He just arrived in the country last night, I believe. I saw a story that he came back last night. That's the.
Well, that's if that is what it is, fantastic. But that story does not appear to have traveled far. So it's probably from one source. I mean, the president cannot steal back into the country. And, the other thing, of course, is there's a period between the supposed end of his state visit to Turkey and yesterday night in which he's unaccounted for. And, whether or not you like or agree with Tinubu, he is Nigeria's president. And the president needs to be accounted for at all times. The fact that the newspapers have taken a holiday from ensuring accountability for the whereabouts of the president and what the president is up to, and the opposition parties are gallivanting for all you care. I mean, I can understand the ruling party not wanting people to call attention to that, but I really cannot understand why the opposition parties cannot hold the feet of the country to the fire on this issue and hold the administration accountable for that. That for me is the biggest story.
And that's exactly what have been my point here. You worry about what is not necessary, what is not important, because it brings lies, clicks, and because everybody is talking about it. So if I get involved in the conversation, me too, they'll see me, I say, yes, I'm trendy. I know what's up. I understand what is going on. No, you don't know shit. It means you don't know shit. So the fact that nobody's talking about it, the medias are not talking about it, that's a given. Maybe they're on the government side. Of course, the government will not want to. If you leave the government to its fate, anybody will not say that they exist. As far business is going on as usual. But most importantly, the opposition. The fact that they are not capitalizing on it says a lot. That's why they talk, say, Tinubu coming back from wherever he went, and New York Times sets to pilot a different narrative, says a lot. People don't understand what that means. I said it. The fact that the president is away and nobody's saying anything. The man left the country aftermath of the airstrike of December 2025 on Christmas Day night. People that matters in the countries shut the hell up. But most importantly, the opposition kept quiet. The man came back. The narrative changed. The opposition kept quiet. And somebody will come and tell me that will not be one party system we did for Nigeria. Let's make it official and compete within. But most importantly, the oppositions are not ready to win. It's not about taking Tinubu out of power 2027. It's about positioning yourself for 2031.
I understand that, but this is something I had issue with when he was announced as the winner of the election, and he disappeared in France. He went to France. I raised the issue with a lot of people, Nigerians, and they all said, "Oh, he is not yet the president. We don't need to know what he's doing, where he's going." And I was concerned because if that is how he was going to carry on at that point, it will continue. And it appears as if we've not learned. Buhari did similar things, disappear, and nobody knew where he was. And incidentally, people who were questioning Buhari for doing the same thing are now the people who are saying this is not important. It doesn't matter whether, which I don't know if you understand that. I don't. You can help us.
I honestly don't either. But there are lots of things that the same people have walked back now because they are part of the presidential court. Um, you know, and I totally agree with you. I also did in some similar issues with my own circle of friends about the idea that I can understand someone who's been through a backbreaking national campaign, and then at the end of it all, the person wants to take a break, but you can't. He took an extended retreat to France, and quite honestly, by the time he was sworn in, he wasn't ready to govern. So I would have thought that the reason to take a break is to recalibrate and get ready, and hit the ground running on the first minute of the first second of the first minute of the first day. That clearly wasn't the case. And he later said, every administration is not a one-man band, and you need time and all of that. And here we are. We are in election season effectively, and it's still the same pattern.
Yeah, the issue of traveling across the world and not being at home is one that is also very concerning to people who are feeling that Nigeria needs a president who should be at home to deal with numerous issues going on in the country, but he's not there. But that's also something that he doesn't even talk to the country in certain instances where something is happening, and people excuse these things. And this is my concern. I want to know if I'm the one that is crazy. If you excuse it for Tinubu, will you excuse it for the next president? Are you not setting up the same pattern that we've seen? When do we break away from this? And that's the center of the conversation I want us to have, beyond just the specific incidents today of what about, how do we move away from this pattern of lower expectation by our own people?
So you're complaining about low expectation. It is no expectation. The fact that we have to be grateful for being treated terribly and being impoverished of both dignity and of means. And it's rather interesting because this comes from a party that was extraordinarily voluble in the opposition, right? APC was spectacularly good at the business of opposition. They created uptakes, they created cadence, they created decibels from absolutely nothing. Now,
And I think this is where I disagree with all these experts. Keep deceiving us even when things are playing out in plain sight, in front of us, live and direct. I think it's obvious to the dumbest and the dumbest human being in our society that USAID was responsible for the optics and everything APC did to take our PDP out of power. For God's sake, the whole country was financed by agents of USAID, from NGOs to civil societies to govern. Everything you can think of was put on display. They deceived the whole Nigerian to say that Goodluck Jonathan is evil and incompetent. For God's sake, how long are we going to keep deceiving ourselves? Even those who took part, who acted, the agents, they have come out to say, yes, this is what we were working for. So the fact that keeps saying, oh, APC was spectacular at being opposition, is ridiculous. That's not the effort of Nigerians. That wasn't organic. That was planned and sponsored from A to Z by USAID. So the fact that now the USAID are happy with the man in power, and the opposition are nowhere to be found. I think the earlier we make that conclusion, the better for all of us.
being in power and completely treating the people as expendable. Now, look at the US launch of projectiles, of missiles in Nigeria on Christmas Day of all days. Now, after that took place, President Tinubu shows up at Ayo in Lagos. He telephoned Anthony Joshua in hospital while he was recovering from that terrible crash. And he issued a press release to commiserate, and rightfully so, I think, with Chimamanda on the death of, tragically, of her baby child. He just somehow forgot that the United States had launched missiles on the Nigerian territory. And until today, as we speak, he has not remembered that that event happened. Today is what, the 38th day since that event, and the president has absolutely not said one word about it to Nigerians. In that period, he has traveled to France, I believe, twice. He has been in Abu Dhabi. He's been in Turkey. He's been anywhere but close to those parts where that happened. And that cannot be the way to run a country. I'm sorry.
Now,
that cannot be the way to run.
You mentioned that, and I thought about.
You wait now. What are we doing about it? That is the question. Everybody keep pointing out the obvious. Nobody is ready to actually do anything. And that is because there is no money to back any action up coming from USAID. USAID are happy with the man in power. If to say USAID are not happy with this administration, therefore don't they sponsor all these experts to start mobilizing, to start protesting, to start. That's all. So the fact that the USAID are in love with the man in power, the way things are going, they are now they are in wilderness. Oh, I keep saying it. We complain as children. The fact that we are still complaining as adults says a lot about us. The president is doing and undoing, doing everything he can and he will, because there's nobody to organize the innocent people to say this is how to go. The expert, he started by bragging that he has never earned anything from the Nigerian state or Nigerian institution. As much as she wants to brag with that, I question that. I question that. Now, Nigeria has given you everything, him and his generation. But what are they giving back? They decided to go hold out of the country and start pointing fingers, pointing out problems. I understand he's doing everything he can in his own capacity, but as a generation, they have failed. So they are being disingenuous in analyzing what is happening. The elephant in the room here is that there was money coming from outside to organize Nigerians against the Goodluck Jonathan administration. That's what made APC. And that money is no longer coming because the money is going straight to the administration. Everybody is pointing fingers. Tinubu is doing anyhow because there is nobody to actually put him right. As you clearly put it out, the oppositions are nowhere to be found. That is because it's an order from above, say, come, let it go.
The coup, the so-called coup that happened. We don't have all the details, but the military now, they acknowledging what was reported long ago that there was a coup.
So and they will win clearly. There's nothing. The opposition are not doing anything different than what it did 3-4 years ago. So it's no way they will make any difference.
People they've arrested. You mentioned that at least that should deserve a president talking to us. talking to the Nigerian people. Somebody wanted to kill me. Somebody wanted to overthrow your government, the one you
I don't believe in
elected.
that.
He didn't think that was possible. That was necessary. That was,
No cool.
and the political elites, even forget about the people in his party, because I know they are doing his bidding. They don't want to say anything or do anything that he wouldn't like. But the opposition, you mentioned that they are not doing well the way you wanted them to do. Why do you think that is? Is it that they don't have the skills, or people who know that it's an opportunity for them to educate Nigerians on best practice, the standard, give an example of what they would do if they were in power?
I honestly don't have a clue. I don't know what's wrong with them. Many of them were part of the PDP until 2015, and I guess, you could easily say, okay, they were in shock at having been booted out of power in 2015, and therefore needed to learn and they've not learned. They've been so cozy in power, they hadn't learned the business of opposition. But after more than 12 years, into the 13th year out of power, I presume that they would have learned on the job of opposition, but clearly they have not. It's the Nigerian opposition is bereft of ideas, bereft of anchors, values, and principles, and bereft of a message. You cannot be in this position. The missile strike, nothing from the government. The tax, the scandal of the forged tax law, nothing. The coup, nothing. A visiting, as an academic, of course, you understand the phenomenon of the visiting professor. And now we have a visiting president in Nigeria, and all of that is taking place, and not one word from the president of acknowledgement, of explanation, of empathy, of rallying the country. And the opposition, and for me, really, it is the opposition. Look, if you had a viable opposition, Tinubu will be forced to retool.
Yep.
At the moment, he believes that there is no opposition, so he doesn't have to account to Nigerians. That's with this current situation.
Yep.
Now let's go back to the coup. From what you've read about it, what is your take on what happened? Why those officers tried to? But
I mean, who I will support? Nobody is doing anything different. Nobody is doing anything different. They are all in the business of mobilizing. Because now quick money. Like, I just still don't understand why people don't see the obvious. Make I support opposition because I mean, it doesn't make sense. They are all the same. They are just with the teams. Their motto is turn by turn. Don't just die. You go reach your turn.
Through a democratically elected government.
Well, look, I've never participated in a coup before. I don't. The only uniform I've worn is my school uniforms as a child and the NYSC khaki, right? So I can't tell you what's in the minds of soldiers who do these things, or who are accused of doing these things, because I think it's important that we also retain distance and perspective and allow this story to unfold. First, as you rightly said, they denied it. As in the Nigerian authorities denied it. Now they say that General Jandai and his folks at the Defense Intelligence Agency have concluded investigations and wrapped up their reports. And they say there is a coup. 45 people allegedly have been arrested. Most of them are soldiers. One brigadier general with somewhere in Abuja, right? A colonel or two, lieutenant colonels here and there, squadron leader here, lieutenant commander there, and a few majors. Of course, squadron leader, major, lieutenant commander are all the same rank in different services. Now, I was also checking somewhere on one of the reports about what they say has been seized of or recovered in the process of the investigation. They said 2 gun trucks, I believe, some 1 or 2 anti-aircraft guns, some RPGs, I believe, AK-47s, I don't know how much, some ammo rounds, I don't know how many either. And then some other things, 4 Toyota Hilux vans, 1 Prado, 32 Volkswagen Golf vehicles, and I think, did they say a salon vehicle or 2 of the Toyota brand? Now, it strikes me as a bloody civilian and nothing else. The idea of trying to execute a coup with 2 gun trucks is very impressive, right? And to execute a coup with soldiers,
Just making up
mid-ranking
stories that
soldiers
are there.
who don't have any command
I think
at their
I have to
disposal.
focus on.
So I'm keeping an open mind about this, but as having said I'm keeping an open mind, right? So yes, I'd like to see a story that adds up.
Right.
The military, soldiers are a lot of
No, I
things, but
wouldn't.
soldiers are not
Don't do
stupid,
it.
and soldiers are not suicidal. Now, you don't with right? So this story, we have seized 32 Volkswagen Golf. On the part of whoever is putting it out is poor propaganda, right? This is my honest view as a citizen. Okay, 1 Toyota Prado. Come on, Nigeria is 923,000 square kilometers. Actually, it's just under 924,000 square kilometers. So 4 Hilux vans and 1 Prado and 32 Golf vehicles surely cannot give you the basic architecture. Buhari, by the way, was the head of the military corps, the transport corps of the military. That's why people called him the National Union of Road Transport Workers of the Nigerian military, right? But he was he led the transport corps of the military in the 1975 coup, and putting together a transport logistics plan for a territory as vast as Nigeria is not that easy. It's also the case that the army in the country is now a heck of a lot more sophisticated in terms of, or the military generally, in terms of its architecture, in terms of its lay of the land. You've got 8 divisions at the moment of the army, just to begin with, from across all the 6 geopolitical zones. You now have 3 naval commands where you had 2 before. You have different formations in the Air Force, and you have many more establishments within the military besides. And being able to take those on requires the kinds of a heck of a lot more than the kinds of things that have been put out. As I speak an open mind, but I'm not stupid. What credible coup story, one that at least begins to make sense at a logical level. I think I will understand it. I'll put it that way. And of course, in the midst of all of that, there is then the additional story that amongst the 45 arrested is one Stanley Amandi or something, who used to lead the Guild of
Actors.
Nollywood actors in Enugu State. Now, in the midst of all these Umarus and Muhammads and Yahayas and all of that, you pluck this guy, and in the list of supposed accused persons or suspects in this thing, because a court martial has not yet been propounded. But in the midst of all of that, they then put this person forward and label him propagandist. right? That's the thing they've put to him. How you hire an actor, all right, to be the propagandist, an actor from Enugu to be the propagandist for a coup plot against a president from with the alleged masterminds, absolutely all from the northern geopolitical zones of the country, will require some explaining when they begin to put their material together. So let me keep an open mind still.
Now, part of it that troubled me was that they canceled the Independence Day ceremony because of this, I believe. They knew that this was in the offing, that they were not sure of whether they got the people, everybody that was involved. But in terms of behavior, if I wanted to think about this as someone in their position, because it didn't make sense to me. If you were, there was a through your government,
Sure. The reason
and
why
you failed, you were lucky. They did not change their behavior from the people that were listed as people that would have been killed. You know, like the president, the speaker, the leader of the Senate. None of them changed their behavior. They continue to act the same way. Which what does that? What sense does that make? If really you were worried that they were about to kill you for not leading the country well.
Hana Kokambu story. This is the why another reason why Tinubu will win. NDLA launches people focused program to reduce cannabis cultivation. Now listen to the story. This is a good start in legalizing cannabis. See, now my president, this is the guy that nominated 2023, but he refused my call. I hope they'll bring him out 2023. Buba Marwa. Although he's getting old. So the National Drugs Law Enforcement Agency, NDLA, has called for a national effort to support a new initiative aimed at reducing illegal cannabis farming and reduce community growth. See? Now that I understand, this says it all. He said they have NDLA has called for a nationwide effort to support a new initiative. Isn't that sweet? A new initiative aiming at reducing illegal. So they are reducing illegal. In other words, they are going to reduce illegal with legal farming. So as it is now, they are not stopping illegal farming, right? You can see they farm illegally. They're just trying to reduce it in order to pave way for legal farming. Tell me how Tinubu no go win election again. It's over. That's $1 billion industry that is about to pop up. So NDA chairman and CEO Brigadier General Buba Marwa said the program is designed to improve local economy, promote peace, and strengthen national security while giving farmers lawful way to earn a living. Now, I don't understand this. This is a new, it's like you discovering a new product when it comes to farming. This is this is a new industry that is about to engulf the local farmers in Nigeria. If only big corporation no go come overdo them. There are more millions and billionaires in there that are about to be produced in that sector alone. So Buba Mora, there's a good side to that. The initiative described as the first of its kind in Africa began with a pilot project in 3 cannabis growing communities. Very soon we went from cannabis growing community to cannabis growing states. We'll go from 1 state to 2 states to 3 states to 4 states to 37 to 50 states. Communities in Ondo, Everybody carry last. The program goes beyond simply replacing illegal crops with alternative. You see what I'm saying? It also seeks to build agricultural value chain, reduce pressure on law and the justice system. Praise the Lord. Improve good products, good food product, include food products, and improve Nigerian reputation in global drug control efforts. My only pain is that why be saying that international drug companies and laws now go the government, now we go to follow. But that's a conversation for another day. A win is a win. This is a good start. Moreover, urge all levels of government, community leaders, and traditional rulers, development partners, and civil society to support the program. Ha ha ha. But Tinubu is doing something that all of us go vote for him. He also encouraged community affected by illegal drugs cultivations to participate actively. Just convert your illegal business to legal. Isn't that instead of destroying them, burning them, and all that kind of thing? Just convert that to legal. It's as simple. You want to reduce drugs, however you think is bad, want to reduce it, just legalize it, make it available for everybody, and see if everybody go see the abuser. Too much of everything they said is bad, but make it available and see how people know will be able. Adopt new farming method and work with NDLE to build and productive livelihood. That's it. Just go get license from NDLE and you don't start farm. That's what they're saying. Oh, hammer. They go hammer. Hammer. But it's all good. The pilot projected received strong support from the host community, where local leaders welcomed the program as a source of hope and confidence in government. Said it. Earlier results show that farmers are willing to shift to legal crops, which can reduce poverty, improve food security, and create safer and more stable community. The NDLEA highlighted the scale of cannabis use and cultivation in Nigeria. Data from the 2018 National Drug Use Survey showed that 14.4% of Nigerians aged 15 to 64, roughly 14.3 million people, reported use at least one psychoactive substance in the past year, with cannabis being the most widely used. See? So if you legalize that, what do you think is going to happen? The number will increase of those who are used, but they will use it more responsibly. But most importantly, that's billions of dollars into the economy, thousands of people being employed from their pharmaceutical products to their cosmetic products to what does it what are that I mean, food comes from in there, textile comes from cannabis, you just name it. It's a whole broad industry, directly an industry that is about to spring up. Millions of people will be employed. From the farming to the factories to the chain store to the consumption and the recycling of the products too. Either way you go, it's a win-win for everybody, for the government, for the community, for the citizen, and it's a joy giver. Just how do you beat that? So field studies also received nearly 8,900 hectares of land dedicated to cannabis farming in high-risk area of the Southwest, often linked to organized network supply domestic and international market. Marwa noted that the social and public health challenge posed by widespread cannabis use, particularly among youth, including long-term health issue, increased dependency, crime on healthcare system. All this, there's no statistics to back that up. He also pointed out that cannabis accounted for more than 75% of the 15 million kilograms of drugs seized by the NDA over the past 5 years. The NDLA boss expressed confidence that the alternative development program could reverse the trend if it received consistent support. That is only makes sense. The only way you want to control it is to legalize it. Not you can't stop it. grows everywhere. It confirmed that the initiative is aligned with the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu renewal agenda. See who will not support that agenda. Keep going. Marwa also thanked international partners, including the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, the International Institute of Tropical Agricultural and Foundation from several countries for backing the projects. Ondo State Governor Dr. Lucky Ayende Tiwa and the Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Senator Abubakar Keri, were also present in support of the launch. The NDLA said it plans to expand the program nationwide, aiming to create safer and healthier and more productive community. I mean, but a lot of people don't win again now. All you need to do is just to go get license. That's what they are telling you. Go get license from the Ministry of the Drugs, NDLA, and then you don't get farm. You don't begin farm, and it can be cultivated anywhere, in your bedroom, in your kitchen, in your garage, everywhere. That's a good move. That's a good one. That's a good one. Let's praise what is good. For that reason, we go vote for them again. The oppositions are nowhere to be found. They're no the opposition are also working for the government at this point. They work for Tinubu. Since they are not criticizing, they are not taking all his all the mistakes that the government is making. All the opposition need to do is to just take it to the people. So it's crazy that people sitting opposition are organizing for anything other than to just get paid. They all want to get paid. That's it. That's what this mobilization period is about. Everybody will get paid. The civil society will get paid. The news media will get paid. The military men will get paid. Campaign experts, political jobbers, units, royal institution, everybody else, the judges. This is their season to get paid. That's what the mobilization is about. Don't care about organizing the people. So it's a win-win for them. That's why they choose a strategy.
Listed as people that will have been killed, like the president, the speaker, the leader of the Senate. None of them changed their behavior. They continue to act the same way. What sense does that make? If really you were worried that they were about to kill you for not leading the country well.
Tinubu is looking for sympathy mind about this, without keeping a stupid mind or inheriting a stupid mind. But the way these people are carrying on suggests they are confident that there is no option. The country has nowhere to go. But even worse, that they do not owe the country any obligations. They can simply do whatever they want, when they want, how they want, without consequences, political, legal, or any other means. And that says as much about the people in government as it also says, if not more, about the people who are offering themselves as alternatives to them. It doesn't say that there is a lot coming from the alternatives.
You mentioned the tax law that was altered. When the story came up, the government side, they said nothing like that happened. Eventually, the lawmakers said that it happened. And it should have been a big deal in some other places, even in Africa. But in Nigeria, it's been swept away. And I was thinking about this, that most of the people in the National Assembly, at least, most of them I think they are lawyers or were lawyers. Most of the people who, how do you build a foundation based on foundation where you don't even obey the laws that you pass, and how do you build a country around that?
I wish I could tell you. Look, the Senate president sat 2 seats in front of me in the So at least I can testify that he has schoolmates, right? Yes, and I'm one of them. And I know, he went to Federal Government College, Port Harcourt. And now the majority leader is a lawyer, okay? He used to be president of the National Association of Nigerian Students, by the way. The minority leader, Kingsley Chinda, is a lawyer, right? He used to practice in Port Harcourt. So that's the minority leader in the House of Reps, right? Now, and this is just a sampling. And none of these people appear evidently worried about the fact, now quite well established beyond any shadow of doubt, that the piece of legislation, and it's not just any piece of legislation, tax law, which is the heart of the legitimacy of the state, and it's 4 different pieces of tax legislation, supposedly passed in one go, were altered between having been passed by the National Assembly and being signed into law by the president, with the result that lots of things were inserted which were not part of what the National Assembly passed. And rather than be worried about that and prioritize it for attention and accountability, they are carrying on as if nothing has happened. And instead, you've got Taiwo Oyedele, whose brief in government continues to baffle me, flummox me beyond any form of understanding. Taiwo goes around from studio to studio, basically calling every Nigerian stupid and projecting himself as if he's the only person who's gone to school and who understands anything about tax laws, which may well be the case, except that he does not understand, he does not appear to understand anything about legislation. So he may well be the world's greatest architect of tax and tax laws and fiscal regimes, but he doesn't clearly appear to know anything about how the legislative process works. Because if he does, he will not be insulting people the way he is. And if he does know anything about the way government works, he will understand that he's exceeding any sensible understanding of what his brief is supposed to be. He's a consultant in government. He's not a minister. He does not have departmental responsibilities. He cannot go around appearing to take responsibility for things that only people who have gone through the processes of both clearance and induction into government have responsibility for. But Taiwo is the person who's accounting for this. And if you take a look at it, you'll see that there is nobody in government who is taking responsibility for what's happened. Not the president, not the Minister for Finance, who is also supposed to be coordinating Minister for the Economy, and I suspect fiscal policy should be part of that. It's not Zaka Dedeji in what used to be FIRS. I don't know what is now called Nigerian Revenue Service, isn't it? It's not anybody with departmental or agency responsibility in government, not even an advisor on economic affairs in the presidency. No, it is Taiwo, who is still a consultant in the private sector. That is the most worrying thing about this, that the government is operating this as if it is a mechanism of organized crime.
Mm. Now, you said something about being in the same law school with Akpabholo, and something crossed my mind. Did you go to school with Omotosho, the judge that delivered?
God forbid. No.
I'm just trying to find out, because I know we will get to the law practice and the legal system in Nigeria and your book eventually, but thinking about that, I know we've not talked to you since that judgment on Nnamdi Kanu. What do you make of that in the context? You know, people tell me that we should forget about how eloquent he was or was not, but what do you make of that judgment? As a lawyer, you know, he showed the world, this is how our judges, this is our judges, and it's a representation of our judges in Nigeria. What do you make of that?
Well, look, I think the case is now on appeal. Kanu has filed his notice of appeal with the help of his consultants, legal consultants, so-called. And I'd like to allow them to have their day in court. I mean, discussing the Nnamdi Kanu trial will take a heck of a lot more time than we have here. But no, I didn't go to, Omotosho was called to the bar long after I went to the law school. No disrespect. But no, my generation, we may disagree amongst my generation of lawyers about details. We do agree that there were some standards. And those standards, I'd like to think we mostly still take very seriously. I mean, even in private conversations with the Senate president, he would admit a few things he may not, in the company of his political friends, admit publicly. There are some things, and I think that's part of what I actually wrote about this week. There are some things that are just unacceptable. This business of politicians traipsing to the houses of judges to discuss pending cases, agree judgments, or people going to court and hiring so-called judicial consultants who prepare judgments that then work their way into judicial decision-making. All of that is strange. It was strange in my generation. It is strange to me still. And the idea that I'm supposed to now admit, conduct myself as if that is the way that these things are supposed to happen is entirely strange to me. And some of the things that happen in our courts, I'm not going to mention any specific names or any particular cases, these days are very strange. It is really that simple. They're alien to legal proceeding.
Without touching the substance, for ordinary people watching that, they talk about, I had people say to me, even if he didn't write the judgment, he had time. Did he practice reading that when he knew he was going to read it for the world to hear? And if that is the best he could do, why didn't was there any other way to find somebody else, knowing that this is something that the international community will listen to? And for those who do not know better, they would think that is the representation of Nigeria's legal
But maybe it is. Maybe it is. But the other thing is this. When I heard that on the morning of the judgment that they had convened television cameras to be in the court to beam the judgment to the world, of course, it was easy to tell anyone what the verdict was going to be. Now, with all due respect to everyone, it suggested to me a court that was not in charge of itself. Right? Now, if you're going to beam a judgment live, then it seems to me that is not legal proceedings. That is manufactured theater. Because there's no way to transmit live judgment of proceedings where people have not been privy in the same way to the trial. Now, so if you want to, I have nothing, I'm all for beaming trials, okay? Now for giving oxygen of that kind of coverage to trials. But to do that, you have to give everyone access to the entire timeline of the trial so that people will be able to make sense of your judgment. But if, having conducted your trial with no camera present, you wake up one morning suddenly and tell the world, we are ready for judgment today, come and see, oh, come and see, something is wrong now. Okay?
Yeah.
I mean, that is the problem. And it is these subliminal messages that our system transmits about how crooked it is without a sense of accountability that makes people like me believe we can do better. Even when you want to be crooked, you can be a lot more professional about being crooked. That's really my thing here.
Okay. A while ago, you mentioned that the case of Nand is appealed now, and we are waiting for that to happen. Someone on the comment section, we know we don't do this a lot, they complain, but I want to just, before we move on, wants to know if the question was something about do people who represent themselves are they allowed to appeal? Something like that. There's a question.
Of course, yes.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. All right.
And particularly when you're facing a life jail term, of course, and to appeal.
Okay. All right. So to discuss the political structure we have now. We are going into another election. We don't know if the National Assembly will be able to modify the electoral law before then to take care of some things that they all identified as something that must change if we're going to have a better election. On the part of the opposition party, we can see what's going on. Virtually everybody is joining the party in power, defecting. Some people are saying they are being coerced. Some people are saying that they are being induced. We don't know, but so what does that appear to be what we're going to see in 2027? What do you think from your own perspective? What's going on?
What is going on? It's what you've described. I can't say it better than you have said it. I don't know whether you saw Chidamuta's article today. An election in search, 2027, an election in search of candidates. Right. And in many ways, he summed it up quite succinctly, with characteristic brilliance and clarity. We're in a situation now in which I guess the only person whom you can be sure has a platform is President Tinubu, at least at the presidential level. There is so much flux with reference to the other parties that it's not even certain who is going to be on the ballot, which other parties will be on the ballot, or if there will be other candidates on the ballot.
What is going on? What
for the
fuck?
top, at the top of the ticket, with reference to the presidency. And part of that is, I hate to return to this,
I keep saying it for almost 2 years now. If you say Bola Tinubu no go win, who go win? Who is going to win? Nobody don't fear. Even up to today, 2020, say Tinubu is not going to win. Who is going to win? These men are deceiving everybody. They are not preparing to take Bola Tinubu out. Instead, they are preparing to get paid or position themselves for 2031. The earlier people get that into their T-score, the better for them. There's no position in 2027 just to take Bola Tinubu out. No, that wasn't the plan.
Complicity and capture of the judiciary. You've seen what's happened in the last 60 hours. The Federal High Court in Ibadan has issued a very impressive judgment, granting what was not in dispute in the case, basically declaring, handing the PDP back to Wike and his faction, or his band of claimants, Wike being the minister for the FCT. And that's now on appeal. By the time you resolve the appeal and go to the Supreme Court, you are probably in June at the earliest, if you're lucky, or even later than that. Whatever the outcome is, the party is not going to have the wherewithal to mount an effect presence in the electoral calendar. So you can rule that party out. Now, the ADC is the other, the emerging opposition coalition is not particularly in a much better situation. You may have noticed that there is a case that's worked its way into the same Federal High Court, now challenging the very existence of the ADC. No one knows how that's going to come out. But howsoever that happens, it's probably also going to end up an appeal, going up to the Supreme Court in all likelihood. So there is that. Labour Party has been mired in utter confusion, which forced Peter Obi, who was a presidential candidate, out of the party. into the uncertain embrace of ADC. By the time, with the support of the judiciary and all manner of impressive judgments and orders, Mr. Abure managed to hang on as the chair of the party, a recognized chair of the party, until last week. Now, Nanadi Usman has been recognized, but that's a high court decision. They are now going to work their way up to the Supreme Court with all the uncertainty that demands. In all of this, the Federal High Court is central to the confusion. The Federal High Court is headed by a man called John Soho, Terhamba Soho, who is the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court. That's the man who in November 2023 led his brother and sister judges to go to the office of Wike, where Wike granted him the privilege, because it's on camera, of sitting to address him. And he was very grateful for having been allowed to address Wike, who became a lawyer in 1998, at which time Justice Soho was already a judge. And to beg Wike to allocate choice properties to them, to him and his judges in Abuja. The scandal of it all and the lack of dignity of it all beggars belief. But that is the person who assigns all these cases to the judges that decide all these things. And I say this not with an intention to make any allegation, because it's not necessary to do that. Everything I've said here is on camera. Okay, that's what happened, what he did with camera. And the perception, because this is what is important here, the perception that is created with these events is of a court that is in the pocket of Wike and of the political coterie around him and of the administration. And there is no way they can deny that. Because of that, therefore, it is difficult to see how the political landscape is not going to suffer from that perception, particularly in a landscape where you've got extraordinary politicization of the judiciary and judicialization of politics, because those two are going hand in hand. And it is difficult to think about 2027 without thinking the judges will decide it. And if the judges are going to decide it, it can only go one way.
All right. Looking at this, I've seen a lot of videos of Nigerians who are showing their desperation, their lack of confidence in their ability to change anything, including coming out to vote, because they believe that the electoral reforms are not going to happen, that the politicians are going to rig the election. Most of them are giving up. Most of them are forming organizations. I saw one that is called people, I'm not sure now, but something about changing the amalgamation. They want to reverse the amalgamation of Nigeria. People are basically expressing their total disappointment and disillusionment that there's no solution. What do you say to those people who are looking at the political scene and they are not seeing any sign of hope?
Well, we've got to create our own hope. Nobody's going, there are no messiahs anymore. And, I think part of our problem is that we wimp out too much. We accord spectacular privileges to people who, like us, are all biodegradable, right? Just because they have temporal positions, we elevate them to deities and the divine. Yes, of course, the political landscape looks, can appear to induce despair. I tell people, I don't attend anything on electoral reform at the moment, because I don't think these current people can help with electoral reform. APC has an absolute majority right now in both houses of the National Assembly. With control of the governor's offices, or with governors in 29 states being members of the APC, they can force anything they want in most of the country, right? Now, there may be exceptions. So you cannot ram anything through Kano, no matter what arrangements they have made with Abba Kabir Yusuf, because of the nature, historically, of Kano's politics. But Kano is an outlier in Nigeria in many ways. And There are different other places where they can do that quite easily. Now, so we've sat down and basically by whatever means they've manufactured it, you've had all these people trooping into the APC. As we speak today, there are only 7 governors who are not in APC. 2 of them are in the southeast, supposedly, at least. You have Abia State and Anambra State, at least notionally. And then you've got, I believe, Bauchi State, Osun State, Zamfara State, I believe Adamawa State, and I don't know, there'll probably be one more state there. But these are the outlier states, and you can count them, right? How do you therefore resist this kind of thing? It's not by playing the political prostitute and, jumping here, there, and everywhere. We've got critical mass, and building critical mass means being a terrible punishment. And in this, you've got to credit Tinubu. Unfortunately, Tinubu was reduced to, people forget that after the 2003 elections, Tinubu was the only AD governor left in southwest Nigeria. He could easily have made peace with the situation, joined up with the PDP, and forgotten and moved on, right? But he declined to do so. And from that nadir, he got to where he got to in 20 years, 2023. It took exactly 2 decades. But most of our politicians are unwilling to build anything. They're unwilling to commit to anything. They're unwilling to be principled in pursuit of anything. And we want convenience and we want quick solutions. It will not happen. Absolutely won't. Rather, we want prayers. Prayer for Nigeria in distress, and that kind of thing. And those incantations don't work. God is busier with other more useful things. I'm sorry.
You mentioned that, and I remember a headline I saw. People have been critical of Peter Obi for his decision to leave Labour and join the ADC. I don't know if you have opinion on that. They said that he should have stayed, fought for Labour Party or formed his own political party. I spoke to someone who was close to him in 2023, and this is what he said to me, that Peter Obi of 2023, that he would not support that Peter Obi in 2027, that the electoral landscape has changed, calculations must change, that there will be a different Peter Obi. What do you make of that, his decision to leave Labour Party and join ADC, and whether that is a right decision?
Look, I'm not a politician. I've not been one before. I don't know what works in the minds of politicians, so I'm not going to start second-guessing any politician as to the choices they make. But I don't know whether you saw the report I believe by the Gazette yesterday, about a meeting somewhere in Lagos, a political meeting involving Labour Party and ADC, which was attacked by gangs wielding cudgels, cutlasses, sticks, canes, koboko, and the lot, and people took a thorough beating. That is the politics of 2027. It's going to be very violent. Anybody who is not willing, unfortunately, tragically, to fight that with that will not stand a chance. That is quite clearly, anybody who comes to the politics of 2027 wielding satyagraha, right, is not going to stand a chance, unfortunately.
Thank you. In a few moments, we are going to bring our audience to join us in the conversation. But before then, I want to play a video, and then we'll get your take on what's going on in another part of the country. Let's watch.
This whole main market and all the adjoining these things will be locked down for the whole of this week. There will be no market anywhere here. Are you hearing me? Each Monday will come and inspect. If people are not in their respective shops, it will be shut down again. Like I don't mind shutting down my market for the remainder of this year. I'm just from Oka. Everywhere is open. And people are going about their businesses. Then you come down to Onisha. Come down to Mem Market. The once reputed market as the largest market in West Africa. Okay?
Yes, sir.
I have just driven all the way from the junction with Ose to this place. Through much of Johnson, I've seen through Johnson, I've seen through Bright, and the shops locked up. I've peeped inside, a few persons here and there. I know that people have done this sit at home on Mondays for quite some time now. And as they say, you know, an abomination that lasts a year becomes culture. No. This can no longer go on in Anambra. You either decide that you want to trade here or you can go elsewhere. This main market, if you don't want it open, I'll come and take bulldozer and level it.
All right. Most people have seen that video. I have not seen before in Anambra State. The governor and the traders have all been meeting. The governor gave them several options. One of them was this total destruction and rebuilding of the shop, of the market in 2 years. The other one was